People, Deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning back in each and every time. Honest to God, it's always appreciated, and I'm always appreciative of all the support you lot give me across all the channels, across all different ways. Now, I don't want to go over the same things again, yeah, but if you want to hear like my proper thoughts, go on my video, latest one with Balogun, you know, the one just before this at the point of this coming out. So I don't want to keep talking about the same things. In short, for me, it's effing disappointing to lose Balogun because I think he's a player with a fantastic future in the game. Just how far he goes is on him and on God and on his will to develop and the universe. But I think he's a good player. Now, for Arsenal, obviously, if he's not going to make it in our first team, I want to see us get top dollar for him or whatever. It's disappointing that he hasn't been given a chance, but I can't disagree with why he's left. Again, I don't want to go over the same points, but those of you that follow my youth content specifically, people, you know I've said if I was Balogun's agent, I'd get him out of there. He's had a terrific season, probably been top 1 to top 3 under 23s players. There's scouts at all under 23 games, all academy games. We all know with, you know, championship clubs now and German clubs now, they're starting to really not tap up players, but tap up players and convince them to come and leave. You can't imagine someone that's got 10 goals and 4 assists in 15 appearances hasn't had some level of interest that we don't know about from other clubs, people, really and truly. It doesn't make sense. You know, he's had a good season. I guarantee there must be some championship and German clubs on his agent's line. Just in terms of his development, you know, he's been earmarked for a future at Arsenal and Arteta likes him. But if you do the maths, you know, whether Aubameyang and Lacazette are here in 2 years, that's another thing. But Balogun can only deal with now at 18, 19 years of age. He's batted up 23's football. He's trained with the first team on occasion, but he's not travelling, you know. Even though there's a lot of attackers, Eddie's been given chances. There's bare midfielders. Joe's been given chances. Matt Smith been on the bench. You know, you've got Medley, who, you know, it'd probably be tough for him to break in because of the bodies at the club at the moment, still been involved. Now, a lot of that was to do with David Luiz's suspension, but Balogun hasn't got that. So you've got to think, you know, if there's all these people in front of me, you know, Aubameyang and Lacazette are still here. I'm fighting with Tyrese and Eddie because we're all at the same point in our careers. Obviously, you've got Martinelli, who's earmarked to be a striker as well as a winger, and you haven't been given any opportunities and you want to develop, then it doesn't make sense to stay, does it? And I think his agent did the best thing when he signed the deal in 2019, because now you're looking at it. I'm sure if he was in and around the first team, a new deal would be signed, but he's not. So he wants to keep it moving. We rejected a bid of $5 million from Brentford in last Jan because we want to keep him. But if they've been confident enough to do that, to bid for him, you know, Brentford, look at the system they use to identify players. Now, you know, we could all say, you know, Balogun's doing it for Arsenal. You don't need to be a mad scout to know that what he's doing. But do you think a club like Brentford with that project is not going to make a £5 million bid if they haven't done serious homework on that player, if they haven't done how he'd look at Brentford in his first year, how he'd look in the second and beyond that? You know, I'd assume he'd come in, he'd be in and around the first team, probably play significant times for their and at least initially for their B side, reserve side, the side that, you know, where they've got all the talented young players, but he'll train with the first team, he'll travel with the first team, and the seeds will be there. Then obviously the more he shows in training, the more opportunities he gets. So my point being, to get to that, they've done months of due diligence, them and other clubs. So they've monitored his situation. Arsenal have tried to give him a new deal, allegedly, people. I'll speak about it in a sec. Charles Watts via Goal said it. More or less, we wanted to give him performance-based incentives, and, you know, on top of, I guess, not really having a look in, and that, it don't make sense, people, really. So, yeah, when he signed his last deal, the club, his agents probably thought, you know, let's not, because a lot of players get tied down to 5-year deals at clubs like Arsenal. They'll leave at 21, 22 or whatever, past that, and they've not done anything. They can't really go to a club. So it's good. It makes perfect sense to sign these sort of short-term deals. From the club's perspective, of course it doesn't. From Balogun's and his advisors, of course it does. Because it now, you know, like I said, if his contract was still in this and he was playing and stuff, I think it'd be a case of it. But he said, hold on, from the last time I signed this deal, there's no progress. And me personally, I think the club believe in Balogun. I don't think they believe in him to the level that us fans might, because it took so long for him to sign a pro deal. Forgive me if I'm wrong. His first pro deal was at 20 was at 18. You know, the minute you turn 17, you're eligible for a 3-year deal, you know. That's what we should be looking to do for men. But for one reason or another, it didn't happen. So I think they believe in him. But I think I'm not saying they rate people higher. I'm just saying they're probably looking at, okay, it's cool. Maybe 3 of the 2 strikers breaking through isn't going to happen. We committed Tyrese John Jules to a new deal last year. So if he develops, we've got him. Eddie, you know, contracted until 2022. We need to get a move on, but we can make a little pretty penny on him. you know, Balogun, he's allowed to leave. He wants to go, you know, if we can get a bid of 5 million plus a sell-on clause for him, we'll keep it moving. And for Balogun, it's about his future, man. And he's at this age, you need to do what you can do to make yourself a better player in a year from now. And I think it would make the risk, if it doesn't happen for him initially, it goes again. But I think it's better because what's the prospects of here? Under 23s football, we probably sign a new deal, under 23s football again, hoping to impress in the odd training session and these things. And it's not going to happen for him like that. He wants to make the next senior steps in his career, you know, or he could have went out on loan, played a year or two, or played a season, and then could have shown what he's on. But it's crabs in a barrel, people. So I salute Balogun, and I'm interested to see what happens next season with the 23s, because I'd imagine a couple of strikers or a couple of players at both levels, 18s and 23s, are brought into the club, people. But you'd imagine, you know, there's even first year scholar Kion Edwards, you know, first things first is adapting to under 18s level. But right now, you know, you would imagine Tyrese John Jules goes out on loan if he's not going to be in and around the first team. Balogun's going to leave. Eddie's getting first team football. Who's going to play up front? You're looking at fantastic opportunity for Greenwood, who's going to play there on a full-time basis from under 18s football next year. You've obviously got Kion Edwards. You've got Luke Plange, he's going to be a second-year scholar. There's opportunities. Ironically, I think it's weird because I know we all count them as strikers and they probably all be strikers, but I've said his name. Mason Greenwood might not end up as a striker. He could have a future as a striker. He loves to play up there, but equally as good as a 10 and on the flanks. I think his future is through the middle, but you know, you have to open it up. The same with Tyrese. He could be a 10. Like he could genuinely have a future as a 10. Now, I think he's going to be a striker with that sort of Lacazette dropping deep, showing his muscle sort of thing. But he could be a 10. Balogun's future could be out wide, you know, ironically, because the positions he drifts into on the field at times. But I think it's through the 9. I just thought to mention that. But for what it's worth, sources have told Goal that Arsenal wanted the England international to sign a performance-based deal, one that the club believed could have been very lucrative for the player should he go on to hit the target set out. But Balogun's representatives would not accept the terms offered, and Arsenal decided that a line had to be drawn in negotiations and brought them to a halt, with the club mindful that they already have John Jules and Eddie in and around the first team setup. And, you know, I can't be upset. His agents, they have to look assured that there's a pathway, you know, assured of that Arsenal and whatever promises they're telling him, you know, they're going to actually follow through. See what plans. Obviously, finances of the deal, people, you know, from an Arsenal perspective, you know, performance-based incentives makes young players want to do this thing more, sort of thing. From his boards, from the players' representative side of things, he might have said, you know what, we believe he's worth more than them terms, or these terms should be the base, because they're probably looking at what other people have got and his salary, and probably leveraging the fact that Brentford are looking at him and probably 100 other clubs are looking at him. And if the club felt, you know what, cool, we don't want to give you what you want to get, we've got other players doing other things, you know, as great as you are, the world is going to keep spinning. Fair play, go and do your thing. And Balogun the same, because unless you're Mbappe and whatnot, if the club, listen, on one hand, the club could be penny pinching and not giving him what he deserves legitimately. On the other hand, to play devil's advocate, his agent could be forcing it, or Arsenal could genuinely just believe he's not worth that, in which, as much as I bash the club and you bash the club and we say things, we have to keep in mind, if the club have a thing in set and they don't want to give it, then what? Because I'm not saying he's like that, but the same people bashing the club for apparently without knowing the details of this, what happens when he signs a new deal and you say he's lacking motivation and all of this, like the same people that begged Chelsea's Callum Hudson-Odoi to commit his future and now saying, what happens then? So without knowing all the facts, you know, if the club don't believe in offering him that, as much as it annoys me, then it is what it is, regardless of what he's offered people. But I do believe he's going to have a good future, and regardless, I'm still supporting him all the way. As you lot know, Arteta has earmarked him for the future, but the youngster isn't prepared to wait and wants to crack on with his progression, people. So yeah, man, we've tried to talk Arsenal quite off. Clearly, there might have been a willingness from his agent side of things to get it done more so than Arsenal, but it might be what it is. And I personally don't feel the club rate Balogun to the scale the fans do, but that's just me. Moving on, people. Apparently, the club is now focusing on securing the best possible price for the academy product, with any deal certain to include a hefty sell-on clause. I think we've just got to sell to the highest bidder and the first bidder, and obviously try and get some of the money if he becomes a sort of player. It's like Amichi's deal. You know, Amichi's deal isn't the most expensive of fees, but it can be quite rewarding if Amichi does what he needs to do for Hamburg, and obviously as a result of that, Arsenal people. But you know, it is what it is, man. We're going to lose the likes of Balogun. We've lost them before. We've lost them now. And we'll lose them again. And that's not a bad thing, you know. It's about winning the war. As long as you get through the likes of Emil Smith-Rowe, Saka, Tyrese, I'm just saying Greenwood, I'm just saying random names. As long as you can get through some academies through from players through your system, you've done okay. You can't. Everyone isn't going to make it. Some players are not ready. Sometimes the pathway isn't there. Sometimes managers get it wrong. Sometimes players are impatient. It's not always going to happen. It's about winning the war. It's about ensuring that you decrease the likelihood of now Balogun, previously Josh De Silva, you know, Marlon left, Benacia left, Jeff left, Bielik, no opportunities on top of injuries. And there's been numerous young players. Musa left before he even got into under-18s. After having a year as a schoolboy with Miguel Aziz playing first-team football, he kept it moving. These things are going to happen. It's not always the club's fault. It's not always the players' fault. But I think fans just have to accept that this is going to happen in the same way that free transfers is going to become a thing. The key is just to get some dollars on him, really. You know, if we get some money on him, 5 million, add that on to players that potentially need to be moved on by the club, and it's all right. I still have small hope Balogun stays. I want him to stay, but if talks have been put off and there's a priority to get him off the wage book next month, when the window opens or whatever, and get him gone, then it is what it is. I know I'm going to support Balogun all the way. Think he's going to have a great future in the game. You lot know me. I'm never here to say top class, world class, and all of this. How far he goes and what legacy he leaves in his own little way in football is completely down to him and the universe and people that can fortune tell and them things. But for me, it is what it is, man. It's disappointing, but I just feel people are overdoing it a slight bit, as they do with every young player. You know, never watch them and then cry. I'm not saying this Balogun, you shouldn't be mad about Balogun. I just feel there's enough wrong with the club and enough that we should critique the club about fairly, but it just feels like at times people just want to be angry about things in general all the time, you know, but it is what it is. You know, everyone's allowed their opinion. On that note, I'm going to get out of here. It's always a pleasure. Deluded.